Hello listeners, welcome to Money Talk with Patrick. I am your host Patrick, trading mentor and creator of TC Trading. So in today's episode, I will be talking about my top 3 lessons of 2020. I believe that sharing my experience and what I went through might help you have a better approach to difficult situations and be prepared to tackle them in a better way. If you have any questions regarding my content or would like to ask me something, you can find this podcast Telegram group by searching Money Talk TCE in Telegram. So hello everyone, how is it going? Thank you very much again for joining me in Money Talk with Patrick. So today I'm gonna be talking a little bit more about these important lessons that I learned through 2020, and I think a lot of you guys, it has been a really rough year, to say the least, in terms of financial opportunities, or in terms of, if you were looking for a job, a lot of people were unemployed. If you look at the stock market, it was a debacle at the beginning. If you were looking at Bitcoin, even, everything was tumbling. The first months, I think it was around February, March. And after that, yes, we have a tremendous recovery in the markets, but it's not the same in every aspect. I don't think we are seeing small businesses coming the same way as the traditional markets, right? A lot of it has to do with big companies having a lot of money and are able to survive for longer than these small businesses. But in any case, I wanted to talk about these lessons because we as a species, the human species, we evolved from the experiences of others, right? And of course, we have the hope of not repeating the same mistakes, right? And this is coming from World War I, World War II. We try to look back at what humanity has done, and we try to improve on the mistakes that have been done. So for this reason, I wanted to open up a little bit more and talk about my top 3 lessons that I learned the hard way. And when I mean the hard way, I mean the freaking hard way. So I'm going to divide it into 3. Of course, I'm going to give more context into each of them. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is about, it's kind of like a divided thing, because it's about blind trust, but also lack of preparation. So I'm going to give you a little bit more context on what I've learned. So some of you, if not a lot, if you go even through my webpage at tctrading.com, if you have added me on LinkedIn or whatever, you will know a little bit more about my experience, more than anything, my international experience. So I did study in the UK, I've worked in France, right now I'm in Canada. So I've been traveling and living basically abroad for a long time. And thanks to this, I have developed a lot of skills. I have known a lot of good things, and I have also learned the downsides of the different countries and different cultures where I've been. And now, talking more about this lesson, immigration is an important part of money, right? Depending on your specific situation, I might be covering more about immigration if you guys are interested, or if you know anyone who might need help on this, because I know a lot of friends who might want to go abroad, who are looking to study in other countries. They want to be traveling, they want to seek for other opportunities, and it's fair. And I don't think you should really be wasting money into paying people to help you, Well, in any case, I'm explaining more the story. I had kind of like an agreement with an immigration agency here in Canada. And of course, I will not give out the name because I don't want any legal problems. Whenever you call someone out, it's not a good idea. In any case, I was with this immigration agency, and of course they are lawyers, right? So in my brain, I was like, okay, you can trust them. They are the professionals. They are professionals at what they do, so they know best. They know what you should do, what you should be aiming for, and so on, in terms at least of kind of immigration, in terms of knowing, what are your possibilities depending on your profile. So So in any case, giving more background for this story, I ended up with this agency, around like 2 years ago. So they were kind of telling me what paperwork I needed if I wanted to go to Canada because of my profile, if I wanted to, work there, potentially get a residency there, just the opportunity of living and working there, and so on. Well, the point is that after 2 years. They had a plan for me, and I did everything that they pretty much asked. And when it was the actual point of going there, they suddenly changed the entire plan. Right? They were like, "Oh, you know what about what we told you? Well, it's not necessarily like that. Now we need you to go and study first because we think that that's the best solution." Right, and this was after 2 years of preparation, I kid you not, and I was so mad because all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, you know what, no, don't expect to work here, you have to pay us, or you have to at least invest another $10,000, 20,000, whatever, for studying, for living in there, and then you might be able to have that opportunity that you were looking for." And I was like devastated, right? I mean, I was not really expecting that, and in the end I lost a lot of money due to this. And kind of my lesson first is, do not blindly trust anyone. Okay, so it does not matter if they're lawyers, if they're financial advisors. Always do your due diligence and try to understand the situation the best you can. In my situation, if I had really gone and do the research on my own, if I had really tried to understand the whole immigration process, which of course now I know, the ins and out, I know what I need, I know how many points, I know how it works, I know what documents, I know how to increase my chances and so on. But I didn't know that back then. I was really trusting these people, and they weren't transparent. They, instead of really telling me, "Hey, this is how it is, this is what you need," they were like, "Okay, yeah, good, just get these documents and that's it." And then when I got it, they realized, "Oh, it's not the scenario we thought about." In any case, sadly, immigration is a very lucrative business. Do not fall for scams and companies that profit from the need of a desperation of others. Okay, there's a lot of companies that do this for free, and I would recommend you do that, because these agencies are incentivized to actually help you. Usually it's like they have an agreement with a company, or they have agreements with universities. So if you actually get accepted, if you actually get something of benefits, then okay, you will benefit them because they work on commission. But when they try to charge you, just run away, because they are not entitled or legally binded to actually help you. They are just kind of like advisors, and if you get anything or you don't get anything, they will get paid in the end. So that's the first one. Again, never just blindly trust. Really do your research on whatever topic it is. The second one is not having a written financial plan. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory, and I hope that you have listened to my last episode where I talk more about the best way to invest, which includes really the ins and out of the basics of a financial plan. Now, in my particular case, even though I had in my head, the idea of this financial plan, I had kind of like what I wanted, how I wanted to move my own money and so on. I really never wrote it down. And this was a huge problem afterwards, because all of my budgets and all of my goals were kind of like really blurry. I didn't have like strict limits. I didn't have boundaries where I would say, okay, this is for long-term investments, and that's it. So because I did not have these strict limits on my trading budget, on my investment budget, or even my emergency fund, I started kind of like tampering with all the different parts of my, of my money, of all my funds. And this was a very bad mistake. And this was a very costly one. Like, in terms of what I did, I still have to get a little bit better. But again, you have to learn from your mistakes. And this is what I'm trying to do this podcast, so that if you are someone new who are starting your career, or if you are someone who are starting to save and invest, you don't make the same mistake. So had I not tampered with my long-term portfolio and my emergency fund, I would have been in a very strong position despite the aftermath of the pandemic. So, and when I say this, I mean like in a really better position. And the lesson here is, write down your own financial plan. It doesn't matter if it's a document on your computer, if it's on a notebook or a piece of paper. Write down your goals and budgets according to your income. And of course, this is not financial advice, because you are gonna do your own due diligence on doing what's best for you according to your specific situation, right? This is not me telling you you have to do it a certain way, because I don't know your situation and I don't know what you're gonna be doing. In any case, this will help you to be more objective with your financial decisions and avoid harming your financial situation. Now, last but not least, the third lesson that I really had to learn the hard way was not obeying my trading rules. So, always obey your trading rules if you're into trading. So, I hope that there is a reason, that you know that there is a reason why I made a trading course, and it really was to avoid bad situations, so to help people avoid bad situations when trading does not go your way, right? The way I made a course was basically, okay, with everything that I've learned, how would I make it so that if I didn't know anything, I could get all this experience as fast as possible. So that's the way that I came up with my trading course. And to be honest, I kid you not, this is probably the most annoying lesson for me, because if I had obeyed my own rules, if I had obeyed what I preach, I would have been so better off. And when I say I would be better off, I do mean it. There's a reason why I've done so much research and I put this course. And it's kind of ironic, but it does happen. Sometimes, even if you are very good at what you're doing, even if you are a professional in whichever industry, you will make rookie mistakes every now and then. Of course, there is more context to my mistakes and the drivers behind it, okay? I hope you understand it was 2020, the pandemic hits, steady income opportunities are lacking. You see all around, people are losing their jobs. If you want to find something like more stable, or at least even part-time, it's becoming harder to find a job. There was some external pressure from family, from relatives, and this is a bad psychological mix for trading. And I've talked a lot in my course about the psychology of trading. And you should be avoiding when you are really emotional or when you are not in a right mindset, right? Because the thing here is that once a negative mindset hijacks your brain, it's very difficult to steer the situation. It's almost resembling a plane spiraling down. And I did piloting instructions when I was at university. So just to tell you how it feels, when you were piloting, you have a yoke. So when you pull it, it's basically the stick or whichever control you use to maneuver the plane. If you just pull it and you start going up, at one point the plane is gonna stall, right? And you're gonna go in a free fall. And if you don't do anything, that plane is gonna start spiraling down. And the interesting thing is that when it's spiraling down, of course, because of the inertia, you are pushed to one side. And in your mind, your reaction is to try and change, right, the controls from, if you're spiraling, I don't know, to the left side, then you try to change it to the right side to compensate. But actually, that's exactly the opposite that you need to do. If you were to do that, then you keep losing control and you keep spiraling down. You need to actually leave the controls the way that you are actually feeling the inertia in order to stabilize it. And this is very similar to having a negative mindset in trading, because usually what you will try to do is trying to compensate, right? What you will try to do is trying to get everything back. You're gonna get greedy and so on, where in reality it's the total opposite of that. And that's why I'm doing kind of like this comparison. But in any case, I'm summarizing the most important lessons in trading that I figuratively wrote on a gold plate so that I don't really forget, for my next attempts for the future. So number one, be patient with your setups. At one point, if I had just led my trades right, basically as planned, I would not only have ended up with loss, with maybe break even at that scenario, but maybe some handsome profits. Number two, it would be, do not over leverage your positions. This is a very fatal mistake, and this fatal mistake was to keep opening positions even though I had some running. Now, in my course, I talked a lot about risk management, but it's not only about a risk per trade that you have. If you have an account and you're risking 1%, it's also about the simultaneous risk that you are willing to take. How much simultaneous risk do you want to take in your account at any given time? So it's very important that you have this written down again in your trading plan. Number 3 is set a fixed drawdown, and if this drawdown is hit, reconsider your trading plan. Now, this is very important, of course, because if you reach that, if that amount of losses, you can have some days or even a couple of weeks off from trading to settle your mind. And in my particular scenario, this would have helped me a lot in order to settle my mind and get some rest of the charts. When you are actually in this kind of like spiral down, and you think that you can do better despite that not being the case. So you really need to keep off the charts, just rest. And again, this is not only for trading, this is basically for everything. When you're emotional, when things are happening, when things are negative all around you, it's not a good time to make important decisions. Even if you're fighting with relatives, if you're doing whatever, it's not the best time overall. And the last one, number 4 for me, was do not make trading your only source of income. You always want to diversify the most you can. And as I have seen in my course and other episodes of the podcast, trading works best when you have a part-time or a full-time job or even a side business, right? Because you don't want all of that pressure come into a single income. And again, this is not only to talk about trading, this is to talk about anything you do in your life. If you have a job and you are depending on that job only, alone, then you're gonna be in a very tough situation, because if something happens like the pandemic, if you get fired, if something happens, then you are pretty much done, right? So what you want is to have multiple sources of income. Maybe you want to invest in some stocks that are gonna give you dividends. Maybe you want to buy some bonds so that you can have a steady income over the period of 1 year. Maybe you want to as well make a side business, have some passive income. In my case, I create a course, so even though I am really selling it like really cheaply, it's something that I know that I'm gonna get a little bit every single month. So it's more about diversifying, right? Because trading is it's an active form of income, right? There's active and passive. So you want to diversify not only on actives, but also on passives. But in any case, traders and listeners, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Money Talk with Patrick. Even though 2020 was a tough year, never let a good crisis go to waste. Try your best to learn from your mistakes and improve your situation. If you want to learn more about trading and benefit from my experiences, go to www.tctrading.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.